Hi, everyone. Welcome to Sip the Spiritual Tea. I'm Erin.
And I'm Tiara.
Grab your cup, join us as
Got
we
it.
spill the tea, get real, and dive deep into all things spiritual. Are y'all ready? Because we're ready.
I've been waiting. I'm more than ready. But what's funny is that I was ready all day, and you know how there's so much anticipation, and then I showed up 5 minutes late. I'm not even sure how that happens, but
It
apologies.
happened.
Right, y'all don't know that. That's the behind the scenes stuff. And I also wanted to say this is probably the last time I'll say, but we're having so much fun. This, the platform we're using does a countdown, and isn't it so exciting? It's like a visual countdown for us. It does like the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I love that. Okay, so
I
this
just
is our
noticed, in all transparency, I'm missing an
yes.
earring. So, y'all, I'm going to take this one out. I don't know where my other earring is. It's okay.
I wonder, and you know what? I wonder if I would have noticed that. That just shows you it's your inner beauty
Oh, thank
that I'm
you.
paying
Thank
attention to.
you.
We're gonna notice, and if you watch this on YouTube, then you'll notice that I'll fix my hair a million times. I'll probably put it up in a clip, take it down, and if you were just listening to it, me saying that will probably make you want to go watch it on YouTube to see me do that. So, because it annoys me and it's probably funny to whoever's watching. So that's my part of entertainment.
Absolutely.
Um, this is our second episode, and I have been excited about this episode. I love the first one, got great feedback, and
Yes. Thank
people
you
are
guys for listening.
excited.
Yeah, people are excited,
Yes.
ready to hear about episode 2. So,
Hmm.
like, shout out to y'all for listening. And yeah, I got great feedback on the format. And you guys feel free to give us feedback as well when we drop the email at the end of the episode.
Yes, please. The feedback is everything. Sharing. We want to pray for you. We want to hear your insight. We want all of that. So please, look, we'll drop the email at the end of the show, because if we give it to you now, we can't guarantee that you're gonna listen in. So we got to keep you here. But let's jump into episode 2. This is my idea. It's something that I definitely want to talk about. And it's just one word, forgiveness. And I'm just going to pave the way a little bit, because I'm going to just come out of the gate with the little bit of it that I know, which is, and I had to do research on this. This is what's so terrible, is that I don't know a lot about forgiveness. I definitely want to learn more about it. That's why I want to talk to Erin about it, and I want everyone else to hear about it. I'm not familiar with it. And it was brought to my attention, there's a difference between healing, being healed,
Yeah.
and forgiveness. And to my understanding, now I'm going to do like the layman's, definition, not the spiritual definition, because I'm leaning on you for that. Like healing, is you're recovering, right? You're recovering from
Right.
pain or hurt or whatever you've experienced. You can heal, but then you can still be triggered by pain that was once there. So
Absolutely.
to my understanding of other people that I've had this, had multiple conversations leading up to this so that I could be prepared. That's the healing part of it. But if you're still triggered, you haven't actually removed it, or in better terms, let go of it. And that's what forgiveness is about. So that's literally all I know. And I think we told you guys last time you might want to bring a notebook so that you can jot some notes down. I have my notebook because I am a student right now in this episode. So please take me down the road, please.
Okay. So, forgiveness. Tiara went through like the layman term for us. Um, and the definition in the Bible, there's not like a strict definition. I think it's more of principles, right? So to kick forgiveness off, I would love to start with Matthew 6:14 through 5. And in Matthew 6, it's Jesus talking to people, kind of laying out the rules. He goes through forgiveness, he goes through fasting, he goes through, so it's right before, or excuse me, it's right after the Lord's Prayer. And the Lord's Prayer is found in Matthew 6. And it's Matthew 6:14 through 15 says, "For if you forgive others of their trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if you do not forgive others of their trespasses, neither will your Father forgive your trespasses."
Oh,
So it's like this verse emphasizes the reciprocal nature of forgiveness.
okay.
Um,
That's pretty,
so-
that's kind of not, I guess I'm be honest. I mean, it's kind of scary. Never thought of it that way. Like I always think of it like God understands, and I don't have to, I don't want to forgive, or I don't even want to think about it. I'm hurt. But I did. That was one more thing I learned. It actually was in the sermon that I heard on Sunday, this Sunday that passed, was, if I have been forgiven, who am I not to do? Who am I not to forgive?
Absolutely.
Just
And
saying.
that's
I'm
just like a to me like a simple principle, right? And if
mhm,
you think about it and break it down, right? Because what we're doing is building a relationship with God, with Christ. And
mhm,
in a relationship, it's kind of like how can you ask them to forgive you and you haven't forgiven them? It's like how does this really work? But
right.
God adds forgiving other people because we're all his children. We're all his creation. So how
Mhm,
could you be mad or upset or unforgiving toward one of God's children? Even
mm,
though you're God's child as well, it's kind of like, well, I don't like them. And God is like, no, you guys are all equal.
right.
You need to come, to my throne with a humble heart, and if you're asking for forgiveness, make sure that you've forgiven people in your heart as well. And the Lord's Prayer talks about that as well. The Lord's Prayer is kind of a model. It's not saying we should pray the Lord's Prayer every day or every time we pray, but it kind of gives us a format or an outline, if you will.
Mhm,
Prayer and prayer is a totally different subject, topic, episode, or whatever. But
yeah,
forgiveness is definitely a part of your walk. And
okay.
forgiveness is really, really hard. I'm big on it, kind of like I said in the last episode. Not kind of, I did say I have forgiveness. I keep the camera's wrong. I have forgiveness on my wrist in Hebrew, and that's important to me for it to be Hebrew because that was a language that Jesus spoke. That's the language, one of the languages the Bible was written in. It was also written in Aramaic, and we won't get into all the details, but Jesus mainly spoke in Aramaic and occasionally in Hebrew, but everything is translated in both
Okay.
languages.
Did not know that.
So it just kind of hit home for me, and I've had to deal with forgiveness a lot in
Okay.
my walk on this earth, in my walk with Christ. The forgiveness tattoo came about. I mean, are we getting into it?
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, I'm listening because I
Okay.
haven't
So,
been through any
so
forgiveness, so I'm just listening.
this came about. I mean, I'll get to the end before I start the beginning, but basically I was in a long-term relationship. I don't know, maybe 6 years. And the guy that I was dating, he had a baby.
Mm,
And I found out about the baby. I wasn't told. And when I found out about the baby was a whole 11 months old.
wow.
And the baby had already met his family, his extended family. I was the only person in the dark. So to back up from this story, we were on and off relationship, however you want to call it, but I thought like at the very least we're friends, we're honest with each other.
Hmm.
I'd asked several times, like I knew he had other kids, but that's fine. I knew the other kids, and I basically was going through his nephew's Snapchat, and I saw a baby walker, and I
Hmm.
know none of his kids are the age of a baby walker. So I'm like, what baby is over there? And so I just said, you have a baby. And he was kind of like, how do you know? And I was like, Snapchat. There was a baby walker in the background.
Did you really? But when you asked that question, did you really think that that's what it was? Did you feel it? And I mean, this is
Yeah, I felt
okay.
it. I definitely felt it in my spirit. Some things were kind of off. Things
Hmm.
weren't kind of like adding up. And I had asked, and he had lied about it. And actually, on the heels of this, we both were involved heavily in a church, and we all had a subject to preach on. We were practicing speaking in front of the church and doing like these practice sermons. And he chose the topic of forgiveness.
Mm,
So his topic was forgiveness, and I'm sitting there like helping him prepare for this. We're looking up scriptures. He's like, it's important to forgive yourself, when things happen. Because I don't think we also touch on like forgiving ourselves, but we'll go there too.
Okay.
Forgiving yourself and forgiving others and all of these things. And I'm like, yeah, no, this is a great topic. He had other people in his life he needed to forgive. And I'm like, yeah, this is great, a great topic. And his mom told him, because she knew about her grandchild, she goes, if you don't tell Aaron prior to this sermon, that is gonna, God does not play about her, and she's
Mm-hmm.
gonna find out. And it was a week to the day that I found out about his son. It was actually his oldest son's birthday, the day that I
Wow.
found out. And it was a blow, but I wasn't like completely shocked. I think the shock more or less was, you lied. Not that there's a kid, it's that you didn't take the opportunity, and you kind of like gaslit me with this whole, oh, help me prepare a sermon on forgiveness, and
Mm-hmm.
then tried to turn around and be like, well, don't you think you should practice what we've been studying and forgive me? Like,
So while you
nigga,
were helping him, he was like, "Girl,
nigga,
if you
please.
only knew."
Right. The whole time he's like, if you
Not
only
cute.
knew. And it was just very significant to me that it was a week. It was 7 days. God created the earth in 6 days, and on the seventh day he rested. But there was a number of seven there. And I was just like, I know that I have to forgive him one day, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not going to be today and it's not going to be tomorrow. Um,
Mm. But you knew
so
that from the beginning. Okay.
yeah, I knew, because again, I've grown up in the church. I've grown up with a relationship with Christ, and so I've always known, in order for my sins to be forgiven, I have to be able to forgive other people.
Mm-hmm.
So in the moment, no, I didn't want to forgive. It's up and it's stuck, and I don't care, and it doesn't matter, and we're done. And eventually, I think it took maybe a year or so, I forgave him, and we kind of sort of tried to move on.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of did. And then another thing came up, that I really won't get into, but it basically involved me being in federal court for no reason.
Okay.
Well, there was a reason,
Right.
but it wasn't due to me.
Right.
And that was recently, and that affected my current relationship, that I plan to be with him forever. So I had to say something in my past. And so, again, it's
Mm-hmm.
working through forgiveness with this same person.
That's a
So
lot to forgive.
it's a lot to forgive, but I found, so I would dare to say, once I forgave him the first time is when I really like I forgave him and let him go. So like, how they say let it go, like you
Mm-hmm.
forgive and forget. I
Mm-hmm.
literally took that literally. I forgave him and I
Mm-hmm.
forgot him out of my life. And that's how I was able to meet my current relationship, which I strongly believe I'll be with forever. And I think that the forgiveness opened so many doors for me
Mm-hmm.
in my heart. It unlocked different places in my heart to be able to allow those places to be healed and allow those
Mm-hmm.
places to be touched again, because I wasn't holding this grudge or this chip on my shoulder like, oh, he had a baby on me. And mind you, in my life, that's the second time a nigga had a baby on me. So it
Oh.
was kind of like, okay, I've been here before, and I
Mm-hmm.
actually know I've got to forgive to get over this quickly. Because if I hold this and bring this into every situation or every relationship I go into,
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to be good for anybody, especially not for me. I'm hindering my own growth by not forgiving him. Um, so I think also when we talk about forgiveness, it's not like, oh, let's forgive and move on in the same way. No, sometimes the relationship changes and sometimes the relationship even ends. So we were actually friends after that. And yeah, the part about court was, it happened 7 years prior, and
Okay.
then whatever happened in the present time is when it happened. So it was like, I forgave you and moved on and got you out of my life, and now you're resurfacing and I have to forgive you for another thing. It's kind
Right.
of, it's taxing on your spirit.
I like I can't imagine. I mean, I can somewhat imagine because I've been through, something similar when I was younger, but just so young that it affected my life, but not in the same way it would affect, as I was like 18 when it happened, and
Yeah.
actually ended up being with that person, and that was the person that I ended up being married to. So I have to ask because, and just because I feel like this is something that, I'm speaking for the people. I'm speaking for
Yeah.
everyone. What about when, and I know that you said sometimes it ends, sometimes things change. Like, what about if you are with your forever person and they've done something that is very hurtful? They broke your trust, or they did something to break that, or to injure your faith in them.
Yeah.
And you still want to be with that person,
Yeah.
but you also have to forgive them. Like I probably could pull off the forgive you, forget you.
Hmm.
I think the forgive and continue to love you. I can actually forgive. Well, I don't even know, but I mean, I can imagine forgiving and continuing to love you, but the forgiving and it actually like being let go in a situation that you're in, even if it's just something that happens and it's not going to happen again, but it's
Right.
just the thought of that when you're still in that relationship. I find that notion to be very, very difficult, and that's where I need the Lord to walk me, and I mean that for real. Like I really need that kind of support and guidance.
Yeah, I think that it's as I mentioned after the verse, it's a reciprocal thing, right?
Hmm.
So not that that person needs to forgive you. I think the
Hmm.
reciprocation comes when that person is putting in more an effort to mend that hurt, to
Hmm.
mend that bruise or that cut that happened.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, when we get injured, sometimes there are scars, there are bruises, and those things do heal. But if we talk about, let's say, the principle of um, breaking a plant, or sometimes when we break a bone, when it heals back stronger than it was the first time. So a lot of gardeners and farmers break their plants on purpose in order for it to grow back stronger.
All right, I got to look this up because this is giving me some strength. This is why, like, because I do often. I mean, one of the analogies that I use is kind of like in my love life, in my loving relationship, is watering each other. Like
Yeah,
watering our own garden. Like my saying is, the grass is greener, not on the other side. It's
water.
greener where you water it. Right. So
Absolutely.
if you feel like things are stale and they're not looking good, or you're having a hard time, uh, watering somewhere else is not gonna help. Is not gonna help the problem.
Right.
You have to bear down, and maybe, like you said, repot. You got to dig up. You got to dig it up. You got to break some plants, and in order to get that regrowth. So I like that. I gotta make that note. That's this. I have a lot of notes, but I'm gonna put a star next to that one. So I never knew that about breaking plants. I also and my housekeeper is probably going to listen to this, because I have a housekeeper who actually has taken some of my plants because she thinks I'm like a plant abuser, and takes them and nurses them back to health and then brings them back. So yeah, so I definitely know I need work in that area too. So
Yeah, like even when you have a plant and the leaves are yellow or dead, you want to remove those because resources are going to something dead, which is a whole nother subject, right? You have to
mm,
remove the dead things, which is what God does to us sometimes is called pruning. And it's
yeah.
removing things so that things that are flourishing, that are growing, can get the nutrients that they need.
Ugh.
Because dead things will take nutrients too.
Mm. This is exactly what I needed. And you know what? I would have been so mad. That's why I'm so, like, I literally would have been not mad, but I would have been upset if we would have sat on the phone and talked about this, because then I would have been like, oh, I wish we could have just pressed record. Like, people need to hear this. Cause then when I go back and tell it, it's not quite the same. I'll be like, oh, something about pruning and watering and just you know, kill
With the
off the dead
plants,
things.
the plants, get rid
Yeah,
of them,
yeah,
kill
yeah. Get rid of them all. They're like, no, no, no. That's not what she said. That's not what she said.
them.
Prune. Okay, I love
Yeah,
it.
and that's
That's so
important too
helpful.
in relationship, right?
Yep.
How you were mentioning, like how I said, I got rid of it because it was dead to me.
Hmm.
And you're like, no, I still see life. I want this plant or this relationship to flourish more. And so it's the other party in the relationship agreeing to that as well,
Hmm.
saying, okay, well, let's say if it's trust broken, okay, maybe it's that now you can follow my location, or now, I'll check in more. And albeit it's probably annoying to the other party, like, okay, but that's kind of like a consequence of injuring the relationship. Not
Hmm.
necessarily personal, right? Because not everything is personal. Sometimes people just live their lives, unfortunately, haphazardly or whatever the case may be.
Hmm.
And in that, they injure other people and hurt other people. And so you have to take ownership when that happens and say, okay, this is the corrective measure, or this is how I'm going to course correct in this situation, um, to make this relationship continue to flourish. And in that, 9 times out of 10, the relationship grows stronger because you're now using skills and things you didn't use before because you're
Right.
digging a little bit deeper, right?
Yep. Hmm. Dig deep. Yeah, I like that. Dig deeper. Like, oh, what is that? One of my best friends, when she's like, when her plants are not doing well, she, what is it, like, she repots them. They go in the same pot, but she pulls it out, and then she turns the soil over, freshens it up, and then almost like, and digs a little deeper into that pot so that it can ground itself. So, and you listen, okay, so, let me just say, all right, so since we're talking real, right? I'm just gonna say many things, but I'm gonna say that for me, when it comes to like forgiveness, or when it comes to injury, and now mind you, this doesn't always have to be in your love life. It can be with a friendship, right? It can be someone you work with, it can be a family member. I mean, all kinds of relationships can be tried and go through its trials. For me, it's like, even when it comes to, like, let's say earning trust back, right? Let's say my sweetheart, I would never tell him like, hey, you need to earn my trust back. This is just me.
Mhm.
If I
Mhm.
love you, regardless of anything else, I'm going to trust you. But the word that I would use is, but I do want you to, if we've hit a bump in the road, or we feel like, we've kind of, we're falling out of our pot or something, I need you to restore goodness, like a restoration. So not
Yes,
necessarily earning, but sometimes the words make a difference. You need to earn
absolutely.
this, as if you don't deserve it. No, you deserve my love, you deserve my trust, but I need you to restore the power and the goodness
Mm.
behind that. So
I
that's,
love that. I
thank
love
you.
the restore. That's
Thank you.
great.
That's a word I had to, because I was searching, because I think that let's say someone is, and I'm just talking in general. Let's say someone is trying to, let's say I did something to you, which I wouldn't, but as a friend, and you're like,
Yeah.
hey, I just don't trust you anymore. You're going to have to earn my trust back. That that can be a very daunting or overwhelming position
Yeah.
for someone sometimes, and they don't feel good about that, right? So you're asking
Right.
someone to come closer to you, but they feel that even that statement has moved them further away, even though we think like, I deserve that, I deserve for you to earn it back and for you to do A, B, C, and D. But sometimes that can be a really scary place for someone. So
Yeah.
I feel like saying, I do trust you, that's why I'm continuing this friendship, or whatever this is with you, but I do
Mhm.
need you to restore what we lost. I
Yeah.
think we in that, do some restoration. And I think that, and if you're listening and you're someone who needs to make amends, or is looking for forgiveness, or want, I mean, what's really important, which we don't always get. So let's also, I'm going to run through this and then talk about the fact we don't always get what we need for forgiveness. And that's when it can be difficult. I mean, I think taking accountability, right? Validating that even
Absolutely.
if you did not mean to hurt someone, or, whatever the outcome was, you had good intentions, but acknowledging and taking accountability that something that you did cause someone pain. You can validate someone's pain
Yeah.
and acknowledge that you did something to cause that, even if that wasn't your intention. Like, you can
Yep.
take accountability. But in the real world, I know I haven't in life. I mean, it's one of the things I do now, as often, or I would say hopefully at 100%, but I didn't always hold myself accountable. And I know that, everyone is on a different part of their personal journey, and not everyone is ready to hold themselves accountable, because if someone can't hold themselves accountable to what they did to you, I kind of looked at it. It may not even be about me. It's the fact that you don't want to face yourself, right? And face the things you
Absolutely.
did. So we don't always have to take it personal, right? You may have done something like, what we'll use the example that you put out there. He had a baby. He didn't tell you. He really was it really that I mean, and I don't know. Was it that he wanted to lie to you? He wanted to deceive you? He wanted to hurt you? Probably none of those things. He just couldn't face the position that he put himself in. And
And that was it. That's why I think that, to piggyback off of what you said,
mhm,
that's why I think that was the sermon topic, and it weighed heavily on forgiving himself,
mhm,
not necessarily somebody else forgiving his transgressions. It was him forgiving himself for A, stepping out on the relationship, B, and then not telling, being upfront and
mhm,
owning it. I think that's huge in forgiveness.
mhm. And what if, because I feel like this happens. And what if someone, like you said, what if they just don't own up to it, right? But it's still causing you pain, whether you're with them or not with them, or it's a family member you speak to, don't speak to anymore. What if it's just something that they n- don't face now, or maybe never face, but you still need to find the grace in your heart to forgive them? I mean, that I can't, I honestly don't. I mean, I just don't even know how to do that. Or because, and I could be wrong, but I feel like what makes it easiest to forgive is that you no longer feel pain.
Right.
But, what if the pain doesn't go away, but you still need to you know, you still need to forgive someone, or you still need to find forgiveness in your heart, but you're still hurting. I mean, to my understanding, it's like it is an action of letting go. So that should
Yeah.
help absolve some of the pain. Um, I guess I just, in my journey, I'm going to have to kind of, I guess, walk in it and understand like what prepares me to to give forgiveness even if I'm not ready. And knowing that, so this is the other thing I need you to touch on this. People often say like forgiveness is not really for other people. It's for, even if you're forgiving someone else, this is still an action that is for you.
Absolutely. Because carrying that around is so heavy, to sit and think like, oh, I don't like them or forget them or whatever, as opposed to being like, hope they're all right. I mean, because another verse that comes to mind, I need to look it up, but vengeance is mine, thus saith the Lord. And I
Mhm.
believe it's in Romans.
Okay.
And you guys will probably hear me say it a lot.
Can you break
Um,
that down?
yeah.
Cuz
So
when I
it's,
hear it, it's like I want to start punching people, but I'm sure that's not I'm sure that's not what it means. So,
yeah. So in Romans 12:17 through 19, uh, it's the New King James. Sorry, y'all. I'm looking up NIV. So in the NIV, which is New International Version, it
mhm.
says, "Do not repay anyone evil for evil. Be careful
Okay.
to do what is right in the eyes of everyone. If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. Do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath, for it is written, 'It is mine to avenge, and I
Mm.
will repay,' the Lord." So I just like always imagine God like, I got you, girl. Like, I don't
Yeah.
worry. I got something cooked up,
Yep.
and whatever they're doing has consequences anyway, right?
Right.
And it's like not everybody that harms you is a bad person and has
Correct.
God's wrath coming down on them. But at the same time, it's like God can do them in better than you could even think or imagine what you could do. So like, for example, with this whole situation, yeah, he had a baby, he got into some legal stuff, and he's sitting in a federal prison right now. I could never do that. God did
Mhm.
that. Like,
Yep.
that sounds terrible for those of you listening. I know maybe people who know him or whatever may listen, but in my opinion, it's like that those are the consequences of all your actions that
Yep.
led up to this. Is I would never want to put you there. And actually I got pulled into court trying not to put you there, put
Hmm.
him there rather.
Yep.
So it's like God has the best plan anyway. I mean, I literally could pick out situations like this last person I consulted with. Terrible human being. Yes, I'm saying it for those of you who know who they are. Terrible human being. Okay. And I had everything to report them to the guy, to do everything I wanted to do to just kind of stick it to them at the end. And I
Hmm.
said, you know what? God got it.
Yep.
I'm not even gonna worry about it. It doesn't matter. It's whatever. And sure enough, God got it.
Yep.
Something's happening to their situation that I could never even think or imagine. And it's just like I literally tell myself that because I am a very vengeful person. Like
Okay.
I want to get revenge. I want to get you back. And so that's something that God has been working on me pretty much my whole life because
I applaud you. Yeah, listen, your honesty, I could not have, like, you are paving the way for honesty. Like, I applaud you. This is,
I'm very
please, y'all, like, this is
transparent.
so real and so, this is two people just talking. I mean, talking about faith, but talking about the real struggle in that and having to put your, because you cannot talk about faith and your spirit and your relationship with God unless you're honest. We can't be here talking unless we're going to be honest, right? And that
Period.
and that alone, even telling stories of pain and talking about flaws and shortcomings, we're not on here saying all the best things about us. Hopefully
Right.
those things come through, but just your honesty is so refreshing. I'm honest, but I'm just, I'm that transparency. I'm working on that. And I will say I'm not a vengeful person, like, at
Mhm.
all. So I don't know that I leave it to God. I just, why I'm
Yeah,
not
you don't
vengeful?
seem that way. You're just kind of like, oh, it's okay. Like that, like it'll work out for them. And was that? No, I'm like, nah. Like I'm coming for you. Who do I have to send to you? All of that.
Well,
Like,
I mean, I feel like it's like, I honestly, like, and it sounds like, there are times that I have thought of something and I pray and I'm like, when I'm
mhm,
when I'm just like, oh, I don't even know what I would have. I never want anyone to be hurt, but I'm like, I hope that they're really sad, or whatever. And then later on I feel guilty and then I pray in the shower and I'm like, God, I meant it, which is really wrong, and please remove that bad feeling that I had. But I don't want him to be disappointed in me, of like, because I always try to think,
mhm,
okay, look what I've given you. Even if you went through this, it's a lesson. You are okay. I gave you tools. I gave you everything you need. So, like, I feel like if I think you did something bad, then if I do it too, then I feel like now I don't get to be the one pointing at you like you suck. So, and I know
right,
that that's maybe not but I have said that even in relationships, if you treat me in a way that, in a bad way, I'm like, listen, I'm never going to do what you do. Therefore, when I leave this relationship, you won't get to say, oh, whatever. Well, she turned out to be a whatever, whatever. Anyways, no, you're going to be sorry. You're going to be lost and
right.
you're going to be sorry, even in friendships. So I am like, I will say I have some petty people around me, which I think, like, sometimes vengefulness and pettiness, like,
Oh,
we'll be talking
they're
about
one and the
something.
same.
I
They're one and
don't,
the
okay.
same.
I didn't want to say too
I'll
much,
put on
but
my petty hat. I gotta take that. Like the petty hat is not for me; it's for God, and I gotta remember. Like, oh, take that off. Take it off. Because
I
sometimes
love it.
it's on. It's on. Maybe
And
backwards, but it's on.
what's funny is that when you're not a pet, and so, I'm not going to say too much about other people, but when you're around someone who's petty, but it can actually be funny, right? So
Oh,
pettiness,
it's hilarious.
it's
It's like the
hilarious.
funniest thing.
So that part of it is great. Like, there's sometimes things that happen and I'm like, really?
Right.
Really? Like, really? Like, do you feel better now? And a petty person is like, yeah, actually I do. And I'm like, so I tripped, you know what I mean, and broke my glass. You feel better now? Yep, I do feel better. I'm like, all right, but it's still, it's funny. And I can
Right.
understand, like, wanting that get back. I'm a person who, I may not want get back, but I always want to, if I care about you, I want to say my side. Like, I want to have the floor I'm a confrontational person. So I'm not
And that's
venting.
different
Okay.
than, I think, revenge. And I just want to say, to your point of vulnerability, God can't bless what you're not bringing to his throne. What you're
Mm,
not being honest about, God can't bless it, nor can he heal it. So it's like, I've just decided over, I would say, I don't know, 8 years, I'm just very honest and vulnerable. Like, it is what it is, and I hope people learn from what I'm saying and it helps them in a different way. But I've also learned to be this raw with God, because he can't heal what I'm hiding or what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't hurt that bad. Like, I know I'm supposed to forgive people, God, so that's what I'm going to do. Like, no, I'm crying my eyes out. I haven't eaten in a week. Like, what do you
yep.
mean? I'm in anguish.
Yep.
And to your petty point, I've honestly met I've never met a happy petty person, though.
Ooh, girl, I'm bringing that one home tonight. Really?
Never. When you talk, like, it's funny in the moment, it's like ha ha he, but then it's like, if you're in relationship with that person, or that person, that they're dealing with a whole lot, and
Yeah.
that's why they're petty.
Mm. I never thought about that.
Literally never met a happy petty person ever.
Because you probably, and you're right, because if you have that kind of tendency, that means things kind of weigh on you and they stay with you, right? So that really
And
is
you're
a
constantly thinking about, how can I stick it to them? What can I do to them? How can I do this? How can it, it's not even our fight. Literally,
yeah.
it's God's fight, and he got it, and he's going to win every single time. So it's like, he's never failed. He's not going to
Mm.
fail. And
You know
he's going to
what?
get the last laugh. And it's look, petty people aren't happy. I'm very happy. But here's my petty
Because
statement.
because you're on your petty free journey.
Here's my petty statement is, God, I just want to be able to get a view of it. Okay. If it's going to happen, just let me get a little, like, bump, bump. I just want to get a little preview, or let me know it happened, or, something. And then I battle with myself to be like, girl, that is so petty. But that's as far as I'm going to go, is, God, just let me know it happened.
You're like, I'm not causing it. I'm not asking for it. I just said, if it should happen, can I know about it? And
And
have a
if it's
little view.
recorded, send me the
Right.
link.
Right.
And that's it.
And I'll listen to it once and that's it. And then
Right.
I'll
Right.
destroy
Right.
it.
Right. Right. Right.
That
So God is working on me too, but I definitely believe, forgiveness too, like, back to forgiveness, you got to forgive yourself. Because even the situation I talked about, with court and stuff, I really beat myself up about it, because I did something out of the kindness of my heart that I shouldn't have done.
mm-hmm.
But in that stage, in that moment in time, I did it. And so once it came back to bite me in the butt,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I made such a stupid decision. I shouldn't have made that decision. And so I went through this whole process of forgiving myself for making a decision,
Okay.
I thought, in good consciousness. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was beating myself up, like, how could you be so dumb? How could you be so naive? Why would you do that? This, that, and the other. And it's like, I don't know how many times a day, because as I mentioned in the last podcast, like, send God a text, like, talk to him constantly. It's like, God, please help me forgive myself. God, please
Yep.
help me forgive myself. Please help me forgive myself, all the
Mm-hmm.
time. And as you continue to say it, it will wash over you. And now, like, I can stand and tell my story and share it and have no problem. Like, yeah, I did what I did. So I'm sure you guys are like, what did she do? What did she do? I signed a bond for somebody. So when
We
we talk about my word is my bond, let's
mm-hmm.
be clear, people. Your word is your bond. For a federal bond, this is education time. For a federal bond, you do not have to put up any property or any money. You literally put up your name and your social.
Mm.
That person is supposed to go to court. Long story short, the case drug on for 7 years. He went to court. He one day decided not to go to court and became a fugitive. I am not in this person's life. I don't know where this person is. So now the federal government is asking me where this person is. and charging me for the amount I signed for.
Mm, that I don't have any and yeah, I
I
don't
mean,
have a
and I
con
mean, it's kind of like it leaves people like, what? Like, no,
yeah,
I thought that. Oh, they found him after 6 days. So then, do they? No, they don't negate it.
mm,
The contract was broken. When a contract is broken, they can do whatever. And so the contract was broken, and I was held accountable for that. So I'm trying to forgive myself for doing something I did 8 years ago in
wow,
good consciousness. Because who thinks a case is going to drag on for 7, 8 years? Who thinks that somebody is really not going to show up to court or walk out of court on their own volition? Why
right.
would you think, why would anyone think that, oh, people can go to federal court and just walk out and then they call them a fugitive? I don't know. I'm thinking they're supposed to bum rush him like, no, you can't go. We're in the middle of court proceedings. No, this is just education for like no. So now it's like the running joke with my friends and family is like, oh girl, I'm gonna have to call you for bond. Don't call me. Don't call me for no money or a bond. Don't do that because it's
None of
gonna be
that.
no. It's a no.
If you
It's
ever
a no.
pick up the phone, you hear this is a collect call
Yeah.
from boop.
Click. Don't call me, y'all.
It's
I know
funny,
my
but
number.
I mean, it's funny, but it's just not funny. Like
My
that
number's
is,
been the same for 25 years, but don't call me. Don't call me.
but look, and not to make like that analogy, but like look how important, like just we're talking about it, you know, in the court system, in the federal court, how important your word is, right? And it like how important your word is to to someone you care about, right? To a friend, to a like
Yeah.
words are important. I know that we're in a generation of saying, you know, like words don't matter, actions do. But you know, we talk for a reason, right? We talk to each other for a reason
Absolutely.
because we're trying to get across how we feel or whether you're lying or telling the truth. People, we do take those words. Sometimes we take those words to heart. And if you're
Yeah.
with someone, right, and you trust them, like you said, whatever conversation you had with him, you trusted him, right? He gave you whatever the words you needed to feel comfortable in signing that. And it's very similar. Think of the, like you said, your word is bond, right? So,
Yeah.
and it's you said the contract was broken, right?
Yep.
And that
Yep.
you were held accountable. That you
Yep.
can say the same, you know, like in faith, what you're saying, if you're like you said, you have to
Yep.
come true of heart, you can't hide it. What you're saying, your words have to be true to yourself, to Jesus, you know,
Everybody.
to whomever that you, if you care about that person, even if you don't care about that person, if you cannot mean what you say, then don't say it because
Your word is your
your
bond. You're
words
like
matter.
in
Like your
a
words
contract.
matter.
Like it literally clicked for me when that happened. I was like, oh, because people were like, oh, well, what did you give up? Are you gonna lose this and that? Like, no, my livelihood is what's on the line. Like
Right,
a six-figure amount is what's on the line. Who has that laying around? Like
right,
nobody. I mean,
right.
maybe people do. Shout out to y'all. I'm
Yeah.
trying to get you like y'all.
Right. We on the way. We on the way.
We're
But
on the way.
until
We're on
then,
the way. We're on the way. But I'm just saying that's like a great analogy, Tiara. Thank you so much for like tying that in and bringing that home because our words are so powerful. So even to say like I forgive you, right?
mhm,
And then bring it up again. My mom always says like if you forgive somebody,
you don't bring it up
don't even
again.
bring up the situation again because then did you really forgive them?
Then you didn't. And then your words to them, they will never feel, well, I don't want to say, but then they can't believe it
Never.
when you say, I forgive you, right? If you forgive me.
Yeah.
And so I would never say, I forgive you until the pain is actually, I have, and just a quick little, like a little bit of personal stuff for me. So I am, this year I need to do some forgiving, right? And I was like, okay, I don't really, I want to because I know that it will feel better for me, but I'm not really familiar with this. So I was like, let me go in my brain and think of when I've had to forgive someone. And I really haven't had to forgive. I really haven't done any forgiving in my life, but that's because I really, so it's strange in that like there might have been some things that like a parent did that bothered me when I was younger that I was like, oh, I'll never forgive them for this. But then when I became a parent myself, it wasn't even about forgiveness. It was just the fact that I was an adult and I was like, oh, this shit is hard. And you were actually doing the best you can. So we're good. Like, you know, that was
Yeah.
removed. So that wasn't even forgiveness because I went to that and I was like, yeah, that wasn't forgiveness. That was just me growing the hell up.
Right.
Someone one time in my life, they had done something to me as like an extended family member, and I heard that they were dying. This is like years ago, and I was no longer hurt by what they did to me. That was, that we're not going to get too deep, but just intimidated me in certain ways. And I was no longer hurt by that. So the pain was gone. So forgiveness honestly was easy. No one asked me to forgive them, but I was like, hey, in my mind, I was like, I wonder if they think I'm still, hurt from that, or that is something that I'm carrying around. I wonder if it's on their mind. It probably wasn't, but I had said, hey, I just want you to know that I forgive you. But that was easy for me because I wasn't thinking about it and the pain was gone. So I can't really, use that as an example. I'm like, okay, it was, I was giving forgiveness. But when pain is, and I guess the reason why I really haven't had to forgive anyone is that I don't have, I think forgiveness for me would come from a place like where something is broken, right? Where you've injured me or hurt me. And I think the only way to do that for me is because there was an expectation. You did something that I did not think you would do. And I don't really have that feeling for really anyone, probably only in like my relationship. I'm just very understanding of humans. Like for
Yeah.
instance, I had
Yeah.
heard one time that someone related to me years ago, oh, there was this rumor that they were like sleeping with my husband. And I wasn't even mad. Like I remember thinking like, if that happened, I don't think she did it because she doesn't like me. I think she just, her flaw is, she didn't feel good about herself and she made a bad decision. And I remember her family was like, what? And because I was like, I just don't like, do I, and I don't think I probably was out of love as well, so that probably didn't help. But I mean, still just the principles of it. But I'm just such an understanding person, so I don't have expectations for people to do. It's not that I have low expectations of them, I just don't have any expectations. So it'd be very difficult for you to break that. So even if you did something to hurt me, I still most of the time think you just did it because you're dealing with your own demons and I was in the way,
Yeah.
honestly.
And
However,
kudos to you. I think that that's amazing because,
I mean, I feel like it's true most of the time. And if someone really did hate me so much that they did something on purpose, they're probably not really my friend, or they're not really someone who matters to me much, anyways. But I mean, people that are close to you, there are some. I mean, my kids could hurt my feelings. I suppose a parent could hurt my feelings. My man could hurt my feelings, because I do have an expectation of them caring for me enough that there are certain things they wouldn't do that would
yeah,
really truly injure my, how I feel. But it happens, it does, it can happen. So I think, so I wasn't able to go back to like, oh, this is how I did it. I was like, damn, I've never done it, why not? And then it almost made it feel worse because of that. I'm like, well, I don't have expectations for people, and now if I did have an expectation in this area and they failed me and they hurt me, that is like just really hard for me because I'm not familiar with that. So again, that's why I think even just, it's like, I'm going to read all my notes afterwards, but even I think even spelling it out that way to someone, like, you know what, this is like, your word matters to me, right? And when you do something that hurts me, you've broken that trust, or like you said, that contract, and you have to hold yourself accountable for that. Like, that's, well, you don't have to, but I hope that you do, because that really helps me to know that you're accepting and acknowledging what has happened, so that we can move on, so that we can
yeah,
be stronger. I mean, that's my hope. And if they don't do that, do they deserve to be there? Maybe, maybe not, I don't know. But we have to be prepared for all things. I guess you have to be prepared to um ask for what you need. It's not going to hurt. You can ask for what you need. Sometimes someone doesn't know the way to make things right. I'm
yeah,
not trying to jump around, but I've explained that to people before in life coaching. You want this person to be sorry, or to, ask for forgiveness or whatever it is, or to make amends with you. You have to create a space where they feel comfortable in doing that. If they have to walk through a minefield to get to you, it may not be that they don't love you enough to walk through it. It may just be that they don't feel equipped to walk through that minefield to get to you. It has less to do with you than you think. In our perfect world, people will walk through fire and, swim through water to get to us. But in real life, everyone's dealing with their own shit and their own demons. So
absolutely. And so
I don't
being
know.
able to extend grace to people in that way and just
Grace.
know you're dealing with life just like I'm dealing with life, and not everything is personal. I think now we're in a space in society where we have the selfie like everything is so self-focused,
Mm-hmm.
when the reality is life isn't does not revolve around you.
Mm-hmm.
And you should not be so focused on yourself. It's
Mm-hmm.
like they're pushing this, you have everything, all this self, I don't know what to call it, but we're not, that's not reality. That's not really life. Life is not about you at
Right.
all. Even you only children out there, including myself. Well, I do have a brother, but
Yep.
grew up as an only child,
Me too.
and life is not about me.
Yeah, there is something. Well, I don't think I knew that either. That might be a, might have to talk about that at one point because I don't know a lot of only children. I actually might have you on the Ask Tiara podcast to talk about that because I'm always telling, surrounded by a lot of people with siblings, and we won't get into it, but I'm just very, like you, maybe that's like one of the confident things. Like, listen, I grew up alone. Like, I had to play with myself. I had to figure things out myself. I had to have adult conversations around the table. I wasn't, going back and forth with a sibling. I had to do all these grown up things. So it's very hard to intimidate me in a space. I'm used to being alone. Like,
Yep.
you cry alone, especially being an only child. Like, I'll say when my father passed away, I have to mourn alone. I had
Yep.
to figure all those things out alone. So that's a whole other topic. We just come up with we don't even have to
You
have
guys
conversations outside of
talking.
this. Yeah, it just
Topics
comes.
are coming. Conversations are happening.
And
And
oh, go ahead.
when
Sorry.
we're like talking about forgiveness, right?
Hmm.
Another thing that God says in Psalms 103:12 is he throws our sins as far from the east is from the west. He removed our transgressions from us.
Hmm.
Transgressions are, sins, another word for sins.
Yeah.
And like, how far is the east from the west? They never touch. They never
Mm.
touch.
Okay.
So it's almost
I
like
was about to beat that up and be like, far. No, they never touch. I knew that. Hmm.
they never touch. And we have to think like, if God takes our sins and our
Yep.
transgressions against him
Yep.
and basically gets rid of them, why can't we do that for other? I mean, I get it. It's God. I know. Everyone's saying it's God. He can do it all. I
Yep.
get it. But our for me, my goal is trying to be as godlike, as Christ-like as I can be. And so going back to Matthew 6, it's like, if I don't forgive this person, how is God throwing my sins as far from the east is from the west? Because that's what
Right.
I want. I want them to go
Right.
away.
Right. And
Um,
I had like an epiphany, which I'll probably have
mhm,
a lot of these.
yeah.
I mean, I have a lot of takeaways for this personally. I'm sure everyone will have different things that they take away. So when something is wrong, right? Like me saying I'm not a vengeful person, but I'm not a dummy. So when I know something's wrong, I do my part in order to like pay attention, right? But I don't dig for things. I'm just not a person, like I'm not a person that would go through my man's phone or anything. Like that's just not who I am. But I will say to God, like, show me, reveal to me what I need to know. I trust in you to reveal things to me, which he always has. So my epiphany is, if I trust him enough, right, to reveal something to me, or reveal things to me, why
Yeah.
wouldn't I trust him enough to take care of that pain and that forgiveness? Not that he would take care of the forgiveness for me, but in a way, it's like, you let it go, right? I got this.
Yep.
I've got it. You do not have to deal with this pain and making someone pay for it and fixing all of this yourself and fixing another person. No, you have to understand what's going on. You have to be faithful. You have to make the best decisions you can, and you find forgiveness, and I will take care of the rest. You trusted me to get you here. Trust
Yep.
me to take it home for you.
Yep.
Let it go. So, see, and that's, I'm going to have quite a few of these conversations, but that's the answers that I was looking for, is
Yeah.
that part of it. Like, okay, I can't just say, and we say this, I can't just say I trust you with this, but not with that. That's not how it works, y'all. You going to trust
Absolutely.
them with everything
Or nothing at all.
or nothing at all. So I
Because in
can't.
Revelation, here we go, he talks about, don't be lukewarm. Either you're hot or you're cold, or I'll spit you out.
Mm,
Yeah.
that just
Let me
gave me the
find
chills.
it. But yeah, I I was gonna say too, like about forgiveness. I know we're probably wrapping this up, but
Hmm.
do you feel? I have a question for you. Do you
Hmm.
feel like you have to let that person know I've forgiven you in order for the forgiveness to kind of be sealed, or do you feel like you can forgive them in your heart and never say another word to them? Let's say again, in the context of separating from the friendship, the whatever, the person.
Um, if in separating, if I was to separate from them, no, I do not. So
Okay.
there is someone from my past that I need to give forgiveness, and I probably will not. I will not let them know
Mhm.
because I need the forgiveness. It hit me when, like I said a few days ago, when someone said, "Okay, you can heal," because I'm definitely healed, right? Because I'm at peace with what happened. I'm confident. I'm all of those things. I love all of those things, but I can still be triggered. So I haven't forgiven. So I want to do that because it's the right thing to do. But for growth and do it, and they're and are they like, oh, because I was gonna say, and they're deserving. Um,
That
of
doesn't
forgiveness.
matter.
Yeah, I because I don't know. I don't know that. So I see what I'm saying. I feel so guilty to say that I don't know that they are deserving of that forgiveness. So I'm glad that I said that because you said it doesn't matter. But I feel wrong for even saying that. Who am I to say that they don't deserve my forgiveness? That feels like a terrible thing to say. I
But
just,
not only a terrible, like it just contradicts everything we just like kind of talked about and learned. It's
yep,
like, are you the judge of
right,
if someone should be forgiven or not, or is
right,
God that ultimate judge?
yep,
And we're just supposed to be obedient in
yep.
forgiving,
And
and He'll do the rest.
that's the human part that I have to, and that's what I mean. I have to sit, I have to think, I have to meditate, I have to absorb all of that and really come to that understanding, which I know that I can. I just, this is, and those were the answers that I was looking for. Like, how do I do it? Like, how do I do it? I have to literally, like I said, if you brought me this far, like, I'm not the judge. I'm not the, so, and that's what I mean. Like,
Mhm.
how could I say whether you deserve it or not? The truth is that you do deserve it. We all deserve forgiveness.
Exactly. Like trust me,
Boom.
I don't think that God deserves forget. I don't think he deserves anything. Or I used to, but I
Hmm.
know that I can sit here and talk about it some years later and be okay and not break
Hmm.
down and cry or it trigger, like you said, like if I'm still triggered by it, like
Hmm.
I'm still gonna go eat dinner, like all the things, right?
Right.
I feel like I'm on the other side. Have I said to him, no, I will never speak to him again,
Okay.
but I forgive him.
Hmm. And and to the second part of that, let's say that I'm in a situation, again, it could be anyone, friends, family, whatever, someone that I am in a continuing relationship with. Do
Mhm.
I think that I need to say it to them? For me, I would choose to say it to them because
Absolutely.
I mean, I suppose you don't have to because they would understood that they're forgiven, if it doesn't come up, but really giving someone, if you forgive them, then, and you love them enough to forgive them, even not love them enough, but if you want to forgive someone, then yeah, but it's a gift. It's like, here's, this is
Mhm.
peace for you. Peace for you
Mhm.
will ultimately bring peace for me, and it's deserving. Someone deserves that.
Yeah, and then like even just to go deeper with that, it's like it flows from your heart. Like you've got to find peace to extend peace
Yep.
within yourself. So it's like I'm just granting you what I've already have in my heart. So I
Mm,
forgive you and I hope that it brings it it takes the weight off of you like it did for me
yep.
because the weight's not there anymore. But
Yep.
when we were talking about being hot or cold or lukewarm, it's Revelation 3:16 and it says because you're lukewarm, neither hot nor cold, I am about to spit you out of my mouth.
Ooh.
So that's straight up from God in Revelation, or is it Revelation? Yeah, Revelation, not Revelations with an S. God bless us all. Um in Revelation, it's written by John, and John Sorry, y'all. I
No,
just
it's just that I can tell you said that before. God bless us all. It must irk you when people say it. You're
like when I say grinds my gears, it grinds my gears. It's Revelation, no S.
okay.
3:16. But it's written by John, and John was actually on an island hallucinating or whatever. So Revelation is really like a download straight from God. The whole Bible is God breathed, God written, right? But
Hmm.
Revelation was like when he was on a whole nother spiritual tip, and that's what God told him was you can't be lukewarm, either you're hot or you're cold, or I want nothing to do with you.
Okay.
And so when we're bringing things, even me, it's a sermon to myself. I can't pick and choose what I'm bringing to God. I have to bring everything to God, like
Hmm.
every single thing, be it a job search, my relationship with my parents, my relationship, my honey, friendships, whatever it is, it's
Yep.
bringing it all to God and trusting that He has it all handled. Because trust me, there's nothing in the Bible about going to federal court and facing a judge about something you signed. But I
It
knew God
happens.
walked in there with me.
Right.
Dun 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 dun.
Yep.
We walked down the aisle together. We did everything. And I'm so happy to say, y'all, I just want to let y'all know I beat the case. Okay. So it is what it is. And God, He never fails. And beat the
Hmm.
case for me is, do I owe $0? No. Is it a very high amount? No. It's manageable. But that to me, a win is a win in the
Yep.
sense of I have complete and utter peace. I have the means to pay what I need to pay. And I overcame. I didn't crumble. I didn't walk out of court. I didn't never fainted, never failed. And I know that it was literally God pushing me down the aisle. Like I laughed, like I had the people's court walk going on. But really, I know it was God, like, go, girl, go, go, go,
Yep.
go, go, go. And again, how God shows up by the grace of God. I had two attorneys for the price of one, and I had two former public defenders in the
Hmm.
federal court system who went on to do their own thing, who
Hmm.
turned around and said, you know what, we'll take your case. It sounds terrible. We'll take it. And they
Sounds
knew
like we can all learn from this.
literally it was that's why they took it, because they're like, we're gonna learn something, because they had never seen anything like it. And they were
Yep.
in the public defender office for 7 years, the entire time the case was in the office.
Oh, and I just want before we close, like, what a testament to you, right? So everyone listen to that. We can always be reminded of that. She just said it didn't get to the point. Now, mind you, this is someone I only know the story from being here, but you weren't talking to this person anymore. This is long gone and done with. And now you're being hit with this. And you said it wasn't that you didn't, it wasn't the six-figure amount, but it wasn't zero, but you still took it as a win. Some people would have said
Absolutely.
having to do anything would have
Would
been
be not a
bullshit or
win.
wrong, or you know what I mean,
Right.
or like I
I
got
agree.
this is terrible, this is a curse or whatever. But the fact that you came out of it and it wasn't even zero, but you can accept those accept
That's
that as
the
a blessing.
consequence, right? Like God
Yeah.
never promises I'm going to take everything away. There's consequences. And my dad
Mm.
kept saying, like, I was like, Dad, well, what if he was like, it's a consequence for a decision that you made? Every good parent makes sure their kids go through consequences, right?
Hmm.
And that's God is a good father. And so that's the consequence is there
Mm.
has oh, y'all see Solo for y'all YouTube. Okay, he's gone. But Solo's my dog, y'all. Sorry, I had to
Okay.
digress. Those are like
I'm
my
like, my
kids.
brother-in-law is here and his name is Solo. I'm like, what?
Oh
What?
wow.
What?
Okay. Okay.
Yes,
But
yes.
yeah, y'all, it's I appreciate you, picking that out, because actually further into the story, my attorney, I'm like jumping down the federal steps, y'all, like screaming I won, and they're both like, "Why are you so you did you do you understand? Did
Yeah,
you
do you know
didn't
you
really
didn't?
win?" And I was like, "No, I won." And they were like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "I won by the grace of God. I don't have to pay that full amount. A win is a win." And
Yeah.
so I even explained to them, this is the consequence. This is like Paul says in all his writings, he had a thorn in his side. This is the thorn to remind me I cannot do anything without God's grace.
Mm-hmm.
That is God's grace,
Mm.
is that it's not the full amount. And that's the win. He showed
Yep.
up, he showed out.
Yep. Amen. Oh my goodness, I have to sneeze. You about to say God bless you. Oh my goodness. I know we
Oh,
about to
hope it comes.
Oh my goodness.
God bless you.
Thank you. Do you know in my
God
house the
bless
joke
you.
we definitely gonna end because now she just had to bless me. In my if anyone who knows me, who and I know my people that are listening to this, I always bless myself before anyone blesses me. I didn't want to embarrass myself on here and do that. But every time I sneeze at home, achoo, God bless me. And everyone will go, damn, can I get a chance? You can hear people in the other room, damn, can I get a chance? I'm like, well, I just want to make sure I'm blessed. So I'm not waiting around for anybody to bless me. I'm blessed myself.
Period. As you should. And that just leads me into like we want to bless you guys.
Yes.
So we set up an email. It's called sip the spiritual tea at gmail.com. And the
Yes.
tea is spelled like tea because we're sipping tea like a
Yes.
beverage.
Yes.
And we would love to hear from you, feedback, prayer requests, and we'll be sure to connect with you guys. But the email again is sip the spiritual tea at gmail.com, and we both will be checking it, and we can't wait to engage with you guys. And as always, I hope that my vulnerability allows anyone listening to go into a deeper relationship with Christ. That's all that is for
Yeah.
it. And it's kind of a twofer because I get it off my chest, but
Mm-hmm.
mainly it's really for people to see like I'm human and I go through things, and it's really by the grace of God that I'm here.
Yep. And we're here for like for it all, for prayer, for
Yeah.
answers, for prayer to
Praise
find the answers.
reports.
Yes.
Yes,
All of that.
absolutely.
And I will drop the info in the links wherever the links are going to be, whether you're listening to this audio or whether you're listening to it or you're watching it, which is I'm sure so much fun. On YouTube, I will put the email down there. And again, like she said, we would love to hear your insight, your thoughts, prayer requests, things you want us to talk about. Please just use it, use us, right? Just
Yes,
just use us because that's what we're here for. So
we're vessels for sure. And as
yeah,
always, I really appreciate Tiara for even doing this, having a podcast, inviting me, to do the podcast with her. And I'm excited for our growth, right? It's always the collective, our growth, and let's just grow together.
absolutely. It's a 2 for 1 for me too, because I don't have a therapist. So this is my therapy session. I get to be real and I get the word. So I'm getting everything in this. So I appreciate you for showing up. She's doing the research. You hear her, I mean, you're shouting out the verses. I'm just writing stuff down and talking about my life. So I have the easy part here. So please, Erin, can you take us out?
Yes, definitely. Lord, thank you so much for this day. Thank you for bringing us all here. Whenever you're listening, whenever people are listening, Lord, I pray that you meet them where they are at, Lord. I pray that we all find it in our hearts to forgive one another so that we can ultimately receive your forgiveness, Lord. And thank you so much for sending your son to die on the cross for our sins. And in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. We will see y'all next time.
See y'all next time.
Bye.
Bye.